everyone, I am Kathleen Joyce Miano, and today I am presenting about the preservation and conservation of public and special library. The topic outline are the preservation, conservation, public and special library, examples, summary, and references. Intended learning outcomes. At the end of this report, you will be able to learn what is the conservation and preservation, know the conservation and preservation of special and public library, know its example, and understand on how special and public library manage the preservation and conservation of their collections. First, let's talk about the preservation. Preservation serves as an umbrella term for activities that reduce or prevent damage to extend the life expectancy of collections. Preservation involves keeping a balance between collections level activities and item level activities. Also, in library and archival science, preservation is a set of preventive conservation activities aimed at prolong the life of a record, book, or subject. In preserving books, it may include number 1, storage. Store books away from sources of heat and moistures. Number 2, shelving. Store small to medium size upright vertically. Number 3, handling. Handle books gently to avoid separating covers and spine pieces from the binding. Number 4, making copies. Do not place books face down on the photocopier or scanner. And lastly, lamination. Coating the library materials with special cover so that it will become durable. Next is the conservation. Conservation refers to more specifically to the physical treatment of individual damaged items. In the other words, conservation is the treatment of library materials to stabilize their physical structure in order to sustain their survival as long as possible. In conservation, there is a conservation techniques. It may include number 1, book binding. Process of physically assembling of books. Number 2, repair, fix materials from damage. Number 3, treatment, deals with physical treatment of items to extend their life. And number 4, restore, restoration from damage. And this moment, let's talk about the special library. Special library is a privately owned library that forms a unit of business firm or other organization, specializes in books and other material of special interest to the organization of which it is a part and usually serves only the staff or members of this organization. Special library is that library is not classified as an academic school of a public library. Examples of special library is medical libraries, corporate libraries, and museum libraries. In preservation of special library, specifically the museum library, in museology, preservation covers all the operations involved when an object enters a museum, that is to say, all the operations of acquisition, entering in the inventory, recording in the catalog, placing in storage, conservation, and if necessary, restoration. The conservation of special libraries, specifically the museum library. An art conservator is a museum professional dedicated to a long-term preservation of artistic, historic, and cultural materials guided by a code of ethics intended to protect the integrity and authenticity of works of art. And lastly, the public library. Public library is a library that is accessible by the general public and is usually funded from public sources such as taxes. It is is operated by librarians and library paraprofessionals who are also civil servants. It is also a non-profit library maintained for public use and usually supported in whole or in the part of local taxation. Public libraries serve cities and towns of all times. The example of public library are the city library, municipal library, provincial library, barangay library, and others. And the preservation and conservation of public libraries, specifically the provincial library, may include in this video.
Conservation and Preservation of Cultural Heritage, Batangas Provincial Library Experience. To preserve and promote access to a broad range of human knowledge, information, and ideas in a welcoming and supportive environment is part of our mission. Libraries like ours are prone to natural disasters like typhoon, floods, fire, and earthquakes, and man-made disaster like theft. Batangas Provincial Library has preservation program that protect and preserve our books, especially our cultural heritage collection. We protect and preserve it through proper storage, circulation and handling, binding, digitization, and others. We digitize and preserve Batangas local collection for protection and preservation so that future generations could still benefit our collection. The Batangas Provincial Library promotes its cultural heritage collections and activities through our library website, Facebook fan page, and bulletin board. We participated in one of the traditional cultural activities in the province, the Flores de Mayo and Santa Cruzan, which shows the religious side of the Batangueños. That's why Batangas is called Religious Capital of the Philippines. On June 8, 2017, we had book exhibits to commemorate the birth anniversary of Feliciano Sanoy Leviste, the longest-term governor of the Batangas province for 24 years and also a founder of Provincial Library. We also cooperate in an activity in line with the celebration of National Heroes Day on that featured the life and heroism of Gliceria Marelia de Villavicencio entitled Tambuli Isang Pagpupugay that also includes book exhibit on local history and other Batangueño heroes. To enrich cultural awareness among children, we conducted storytelling that depicts heroism of our local heroes. We also introduced them the good values and wisdom through this program. This year, we held it in Bawan Municipal Library. Because of a greater demand for information and services in the public library, we will strive for a greater Batangas Provincial Library to better serve the community.
The summary: preservation means regular maintenance of library material, whereas conservation means the remedial treatment and restoration of the already damaged material. The preservation and conservation will repair the special handling of library materials. As the public libraries are supported by tax dollars, staff are required to serve all members of the public. Special librarians are under no such obligation, and while some welcome the public, typically government agencies and not-for-profit organizations, a great many others are not open to general public. And this is my references. So that's all. Thank you everyone and God bless.